So I've been 50-50 about making this video. I think in the history of this channel, I don't think I've ever divulged in some kind of drama. But today we are going to be opening a can of worms, because there's actually been a lot going on behind the scenes of the Roblox Gore community, which I feel like that most people should know. And as a person who makes videos on these Roblox Gore games, I feel like I've been put in the center of all of it. Now, we're going to be talking about two games in particular, because these two games just have bad actors within them. These two games are Untitled Shooter 2 and Blood Engine. Now, before we get into this drama or this controversy, you're going to need to know some background information about these games. We'll start off with Untitled Shooter 2. Untitled Shooter 2 was created by a guy named Just Left Guy, also known as JLG. And this man is a, well, controversial figure in the Roblox Gore community, and has been for quite a while. But I first met this man roughly around a year ago. He came to my DM simply asking for me to make a video on his game and to check out his gore. However, I did ignore him. Now, I don't know if this was on accident or if I intentionally did it. It was over a year ago. I'm really just looking at the chat logs here. But my first impression of him wasn't very good, because he actually had a profile picture of a certain German dictator that wasn't very friendly to a certain group of people. I'm sure everybody can guess who this guy is. Obviously, he's not going to be named, so YouTube doesn't take down this video. But really, overall, it wasn't a good start. And I actually didn't really make contact with him until like 6 months after he sent me his first message. This is because Untitled Shooter started taking off, and I started making a reasonable amount of videos on it. And when I started making videos on it, I actually had gotten a lot of DMs from either former staff members or members in the server talking about how kind of a terrible person this guy is. And honestly, I don't know if I knew that this guy was the direct owner of Untitled Shooter 2 at the time, because my first opening message to this guy was asking if he was the actual owner of Untitled Shooter 2. But essentially, I tried to calm some fires down in DMs, because a lot of people, and I mean a lot of people from this community, were DMing me about this guy. And there was a lot of screenshots of this guy saying some not so family-friendly things. Once again, I assume everybody can guess what these words he was saying was. And keep in mind, I did previously ignore him, or maybe have ignored him, because he had a certain picture of a certain guy during a certain time. You guys get it. But I DM'd him to really just make one thing clear. If I was to continue making videos on Untitled Shooter 2 and featuring the game in any of my videos, the only condition was this guy needed to chill out. And I gave him this chance because of two reasons. One, I actually liked Untitled Shooter 2 a lot, and I still do. I think it's an amazing game. And two, I assumed this guy was not an adult and he was just a kid and he's just playing around on Discord. Because people who tend to present themselves on the internet in that way usually are not old enough to understand why they shouldn't be doing that. I mean, I was in 8th grade once, I understand it, but I also understand now that that's not okay and it needs to stop. And so we came to an agreement. The agreement was that I would give him a month, and if he could prove that he was a somewhat reasonably good person, that maybe, just maybe, we could work together in future projects or future videos. And as far as I'm concerned, he actually did honor that agreement for a good little bit. And to be honest with you, all those DMs that I got about this guy being an awful person and how I should not be associated with him, they kind of actually stopped. And so I really didn't think much of it. However, it's important to know that if something were to happen, if this guy said a certain word or did certain things, and I got notified of it and I could verify that this was recent after the agreement, I would cut off all ties with him. Plain and simple. Which honestly, to me, it sounded like a pretty fair deal. I honestly really was just trying to help this guy, because Untitled Shooter 2 is a reasonably good game that had reasonably good potential. And if this guy wanted to be a professional Roblox developer or make games for Roblox for a living, he would need to improve his public image and not do things that would potentially get him in trouble later down the line. And since I'm making this video, you guys can imagine what probably happened. I ended up getting a loaded DMs from the entirety of the Untitled Shooter 2 staff team and all the developers. Now, Discord kind of deleted the personal messages here, or they didn't delete them, but I can't find them anywhere. So y'all are just gonna take my word on this. And these DMs really just came down to the fact that this guy was not so family friendly and also wasn't so very nice to his staff team. And this isn't like a one-off thing. I'm talking like the entirety of their staff and development team actually came to me. And so once that was all said and done, Well, I really had no choice. There was verifiable proof that this guy was doing things after the agreement we had made, so my hand was forced. Ever since this happened, I honestly just kind of straight up ghosted them because I'm not really one for drama. Like I said, I've never made a video about any kind of drama on my channel before, so I'm kind of nervous about this going out, but it needs to be said. And as far as I'm concerned now, Untitled Shooter 2 is dead, and most likely Untitled Shooter 3 is also dead. JLG was not the guy who was making the gore. In fact, everybody that I mentioned in this video does not make the gore. The people I'm talking about are just the people who are running the show. They don't actually make any of the gore. They just pay for commissions from these people. And the people that they pay for are actually reasonably good people. I've talked to both of them, and I've never had an issue with them. So the people who make the gore with these games should not be associated with the people that are running the show. But let's go ahead and talk about Blood Engine for a second. Now, a little disclaimer about this whole Blood Engine thing. I have no personal experience with these people. I really am just delivering the information I was given by former staff members and former developers of the game. And for safety reasons, my source wanted to stay anonymous in the situation, so I will not be saying his name whatsoever. Any screenshots I use of this guy will be censored, and he will remain completely anonymous. But once again, let's go back around 2 months ago. And before I start, there are 3 actors in the story that we need to talk about. There's a developer and owner named Zal, and there's another developer and owner named Zone. We have our anonymous friend that we'll call Jimmy. Now, for a lot of my gore thumbnails, I actually go to these guys and I ask, hey, give me some good screenshots of the in-game gore so I can put it in a thumbnail when I'm talking about a video using their game or something related to the subject. And in all of cases, everything went perfectly fine. Never had an issue. We didn't really speak that much. It was more just like business as usual. And so sometime around 2 months ago, I was just doing my usual thing. I was asking them, hey, I'm doing a video. I need gore. Can you go ahead and send me a thumbnail? And as per usual, they sent me a little thing of gore and then, we went on our way. But then our first problem arose. I had gotten a DM from a guy named Jimmy. He basically asked me, where did I get the image for the thumbnail? Because that was allegedly his thumbnail. He made that. And so I told him, yeah, I got it from these 2 people. And I also asked him for proof that he actually made it because I found it kind of unlikely that the developers of a game would give me gore from their game and then a random guy who just DMs me is like, oh yeah, that's actually mine. And so he tells me to ask them because they would tell me that he actually made it, which they actually did. And so once they confirmed it with me, I went in and asked, hey, did he get paid for it? Because technically, if he doesn't get paid for it, they don't really have the rights to use that gore, which technically means the gore that they gave me is actually his and I couldn't use it for a thumbnail. And just to clarify, I did get permission later on to use his gore for thumbnails. And the developer said, no, he didn't get paid because he was allegedly working for free, which is kind of hard to believe, to be honest with you. However, as you can imagine, because I'm making this video, apparently he was told that he was going to get paid. A payment for 10,000 Robux, and actually here's a screenshot of it. It says, ad developer paying 10,000 each for the upcoming payment agreement. Referring to the payment agreement, payment will change slightly. Everyone has a base payment of 10,000, but if you go above and beyond on a month, you will get a bonus. Keep in mind that this isn't a one-time payment. This is a monthly thing for working for that group. And so I got a statement from him, and this is basically what happened and why he wasn't paid. Zone owned the group and was going to pay us out, but Zone got termed, meaning permanently banned, I'm pretty sure. So Zal had control over the group, and he didn't want to pay us, so we all left Havoc for the better game. And that's really all it came down to. A transfer of ownership, which led to, well, people not getting paid. As far as I'm concerned, Zone really doesn't have anything else to do with this story. He's left the group. He's gone. Not in the Discord. Nothing like that. Haven't heard from him ever since, actually. However, Zal still owns the group and still has yet to pay any developers for what they actually are owed. So really, I'll let you draw your own conclusions. To sum everything up, essentially, JLG, the guy who runs Untitled Shooter 2, just happens to be a belligerent racist. And Zal, the guy who runs Blood Engine, allegedly hasn't paid his developers. So yeah, that's really the scoop. I was honestly really 50-50 about making this, but I feel like I at least have the responsibility to inform you guys about what games you are playing and who you're supporting. Now, I'm really not trying to take shots at the developers who make these games, but really just the owners who really profit off of it. I think that Untitled Shooter and Blood Engine are some of the best games that ever come to Roblox, period, but people need to be held accountable for what they do. I don't think either of the owners are necessarily bad people, but people make mistakes and people need to know. I guess if there's really one thing I want to come out of this video, I want want the owners of the games to at least take accountability for their actions. I really hope JLG apologizes, and I honestly hope that Zal pays out the developers that need to be paid. And if both of these things happen, I'll go ahead and gladly remove this video. But until that day happens, this video will stay up. And if for whatever odd reason, one of the parties do it and the other party doesn't, I'll obviously remove that portion of the video from the YouTube channel, and we'll go ahead and call it even. If you guys want to tell me down in the comments your personal experiences with these people, and maybe you have something more to add to the story, let me know down in the comments, and if something important arises, I'll pin the comment.